Hello, everybody, and welcome to On the First Tee with JT. I'm Janice Thornton with JT Fitness and Golf, and I'm an online personal trainer, and I love helping golfers improve their golf game through online personal training. One of the other things I absolutely love to do, though, is interview my friends and their businesses so that way you can learn more about who's out there and what they have to offer. So today I have two amazing guys, Mike Steffen and Dan Van with Perfect Strike Golf. And if you are a senior golfer, you are going to want to listen to what these guys have to say. So, gentlemen, welcome to On the First Tee with JT.
Thank you, Janice.
Great to be here.
So, okay, guys. Okay, Mike, I'm going to start with you because you have such an interesting background as what you retired from, but then also as a golfer and this amazing paper, The Secret of the Perfect Strike, that you wrote. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was an orthodontist in my private practice and in my former life. I've retired from that. I've been retired for 7 years now, and I've devoted most of my time to playing golf and learning about golf. And I wrote this paper because I've heard so many golfers say, I hit it great on the range, but I just cannot seem to take it to the course. It just doesn't seem to work. And so I figured there's got to be a reason for that. And so what I did was I started looking at what professional golfers did. And what they did was they knew exactly where to stand in order to hit their ball precisely off of each lie. And that's the real critical thing here, is that we learn to play golf on the driving range because we that's where we hit balls and we learn how to hit each club. But the driving range is generally pretty flat. But there's not many flat lies on the golf course.
No, there's not.
So basically, you can hit a whole bunch of 7-irons, and you can figure out where to stand to hit that 7-iron pretty well when you're standing on a flat plane. If you make a bad swing, no problem. You just pull another ball over and swing again, and that's fine on the driving range. But when you get out on the course, there's hardly any level lies on the course. Even some of the tee boxes are not level.
Yeah, I can attest to that, especially for the women's tee boxes.
Exactly. And so if you don't know how to position your body for each individual lie and find where that position is, then you're unlikely to strike the ball well. So that was the genesis of this paper.
Well, Dan, let's ask you, talk about how long you've been playing golf. And when you read this paper that Mike wrote, what made you decide, yes, he and I need to go into business together?
Well, Janice, I've been playing golf more than 50 years. I don't know that some days I'm actually playing golf or I'm just occupying space on the golf course. Took it up in my late 20s and went on the shelf a little bit when our girls were growing up and were involved in activities at school and so forth. But kind of got back into it more seriously in my early 50s. So in the last 20 plus years, I've spent more time on the golf course. The thing about Mike's paper that was interesting to me, and he mentioned the driving range and taking lessons on the driving range. And I began to reflect on that a little bit. And when I began to really get to be a better golfer, it was because of lessons and practice and so forth. But I realized he was right. The lessons I'd taken were all in the driving range. They were almost always dealing with the golf swing, mechanics and so forth. But it didn't always translate to better golf, I'll put it that way. Then I began to observe the fact that, now my bias, I'll be frank, my bias is that what Mike has done here has created an opening for senior golfers to really get better, especially in their short game, because that's an area where you do find a lot of uneven lies, downhill shots, uphill shots, and so forth, that many golfers, especially senior golfers, don't navigate very well. So if you can get better at that, improve your short game, then obviously it's more enjoyable. It's the scores get better, it's more enjoyable. So I guess the bottom line for me was I'm a practical person, kind of more of a practice something, see if it works, and continue to do it that way. And I saw in Mike's paper the idea that if you did apply a very simple principle, which is rarely ever taught by professionals, it really could make a difference.
Well, so your target market for sure is then the senior golfer that who wants to improve their golf game. And we all know that the short game is where the money really is. And when you can enhance your short game, obviously we can enhance, your scores. You're going to have lower scores with that. So Mike, back to you. So what are, some of the key takeaways that you are able to provide for the senior golfer, and why should they be listening to you?
Okay, so here's another point, and that is when you're on the driving range, you can take all these practice swings, and there's no penalty. But on the course, you only get one chance at each shot. Which,
assuming you play by the rules, that is.
If you play by the rules, so you only get one chance at each shot, which increases tension. And of course, as you know, the more tense you are, the more your muscles are contracted, and the less chance you have of making a good swing. So there's a lot of reasons for coming up with this idea, and I'm not saying this real well here, but as you know, golf is a really complicated sport. There's so many things that have to go right in the golf swing to make the ball go where you want to go. And all golfers are different, not only in their skill level and their physical abilities, as you know, which is what your focus is on. So all of these different swings make it very difficult to teach people. But if you have some basic things that you do for each shot, it makes it much more predictable.
I think to add a point, if I could here, that Mike and I've talked about many times, this applies to all golfers, regardless of age, size, men, women, doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if your swing is upright or if it's flat. The fact of the matter is, this principle, if you watch professional golf tournaments at all, live or even on TV, you'll see that the pros do this every single shot in some fashion. They're determining the bottom of their swing arc. They're determining the bottom of the downswing, so to speak. So this is a tip. We see golf magazines all the time they're replete with tips and how to hit the ball farther and various things. But this really applies to every single golfer who wants to put some practice in and understand it. It'll help them.
Well, what do you think the biggest tip that you can give these senior golfers for them when they're out on the course?
The biggest thing that I see is to test your lie. We call it testing the lie. And that is, every single lie is going to be different. It's uphill, it's downhill, it's side hill, above your feet, below your feet. There's a lot of ways that you have to stand in order to strike the ball carefully. The thing that you have to do is figure out where the bottom of your swing arc is. Most people think that the bottom of the swing arc is where you hit the ball, and that's not correct. The bottom of the swing arc, at least on clubs that produce a divot, is where the club enters the ground. So if you watch a pro on TV and you see a slow motion of their shot, what you'll notice is they hit the ball leaves the club, and then the club enters the ground. So the divot is the bottom of the swing, not where the club hits the ball. And so you have to find the bottom of the swing for every single shot. And it's different because all lies are different. So if you can find where the club bottoms out, then you know how to position your body to be in the right place so that for your individual swing, in other words, as you swing the club down and you come into full contact with the ball, the ball is going to be hit, and then the club enters the ground for the bottom of the swing. So that's the basic principle.
So how would someone change that for if they have, say, an uphill lie? How would you recommend that they find the bottom of the swing?
It's
like
really,
if they have an up.
Yeah, it's real easy. So what you do is you stand a couple of feet away from the ball on your target line. So get your target line first and stand a couple of feet away from the ball and make a small practice swing. You don't have to make a full swing. You can if you want to. But basically what you're trying to do is find out for your own body with the length of your arms and the length of your club, if your arm, your lead arm is straight as it comes through, where does that club strike? Well, the ball, when you find that bottom of your swing arc, you know that's where the divot is. So about an inch in back of that, where that club enters the ground, is where the ball is. So you can move your body left and right to determine where you have to stand exactly for that swing to bottom out in the correct place to hit that ball.
Yeah, good.
So for an uphill lie, you probably are going to have to move your body up the hill a little bit. Otherwise, if you're too far down, you're going to bottom out too far in front of the ball, and you'll hit the ball thin. If you get too far ahead of the ball, you'll hit the ball fat. You'll bottom out too far in back of the ball. So you just make these little practice swings, and you find where the exact bottom of your swing is, and then you know where to step into the ball and execute the shot.
Janice, we try in our content. One of our main goals is to visualize the question you just asked, the answer to your question. I started to say a minute ago, sometimes the best advice I can give a senior golfer, based on my experience, is you go to the driving range, you don't hit them very good, you hit straight to the 19th hole. But Mike said something about you asked about uphill lies, for example. We've talked a little bit about the short game, and I think that's where the money is, if you want to call it that. If that's where we see the most enjoyment. You've got a tough shot, you save par perhaps, or whatever it may be, as opposed to those shots where you hit them poorly and leave yourself another tough shot. It's frustrating.
It is.
This principle applies around the golf course. You think about hard pan lies, you think about downhill lies over a water hazard to an elevated green. There are any number of places where this applies. I just mentioned the short game because a lot of my guys I play with, my group, for example, you remember those saves from around the green, those that meant a good score for you. You remember those, and they mean a lot to you. It's like those shots really help to heal a lot of the bad shots during the course of a round that you've hit. So anyway, but it applies around the golf course. It's just access to the short game practice is much easier on most golf courses because you've usually got chipping area or a putting area where you can work on those things. Whereas around the golf course, to be frank with you, if you're practicing, you've got to be cognizant of the groups around you and not slowing things down and so forth. It's a little more challenging to find a place to do that, but certainly it can be done.
Well, and I was just thinking of when you're talking about all the different shots around the course, how many times do you get to practice on the driving range a side hill lie that you're kind of doing a baseball swing?
That's right.
And you don't get to practice that anywhere on the driving range or even on the chipping green or the chipping area because there's typically not enough space to practice. And you're probably trying to hit a maybe 150-yard shot, and that you can't really practice on the driving range with that.
Great point. And we have some videos where we actually do show some shots around the golf course and how they can practice that as they're playing a little bit. It's understanding the principle that Mike explained. If you understand the basics of that, and we show that a lot in our content, if you understand that and just put it into practice, it becomes second nature. Quick anecdotal story. I was able to watch Zach Johnson one time, and we know he's known for his short game, his wedge game. And I was really surprised as he was preparing to hit a shot to a green. Several times he did exactly this. Now, I'm not saying we're going to make you like Zach Johnson, but certainly the idea was he was practicing on an uneven lie so that when he did strike the ball, he made the best contact with it. I thought, there's a picture right there worth 1,000 words, so to speak. For me, it was anyway.
Absolutely. Well, and that's, I feel like how you got to your business. So where can people go to check out your website, grab a freebie from you guys? Where can they go?
They go to perfectstritegolf.net. That's
perfect.
Perfectstritegolf.net.
Well, awesome, because we will definitely send people there.
Thank
So that way they can get more information about you two. So that way they can, these seniors now they'll be able to start hitting the ball a lot better, more consistently. And then they're going to be a happy golfer because they will be having lower scores each and every time they play golf. And that's what we all want, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on, and everyone have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Janice. Pleasure to be here.
Appreciate it. It's very nice to be with you.